Yo, good morning, America and the rest of the world. How do? Xander J. Hobson checking in. Stand-up comedian, entertainer, director and producer of 6 going on 7 boxing documentaries, and internet troll to those who need internet trolling. Do me a favor. Do me a favor, folks. Subscribe. Like this video. Hate this video. Share it. Leave a comment in the comment section. And it could be something favorable as, hey man, I like what you do, keep doing it. Or it could be, fuck you. Who cares what you think? But just know, if you say something slick, I'm going to say something slick back to you. Know that. So anyway, I want to touch on the subject of one Tommy Sotomayor. Now, for the record, Tommy Sotomayor is a very accomplished YouTuber. Okay? I respect Tommy Sotomayor's grind. I become familiar with Tommy Sotomayor years ago when a friend of mine turned me on to him. And even though I thought that Tommy Sotomayor has some great talking points, I just found Tommy Sotomayor to be too fucking silly, number one, and I didn't like how he berates black women. And in most cases, when I found that Tommy Sotomayor berated black women, he used the absolute worst case scenario as an example for every black woman. And when a person generalizes, that leaves them open for a wise ass like myself. Okay? But other than that, Tommy Sotomayor is good at what he does, and he's very successful at what he does. Now that we showed Tommy the proper respect, let's get to tearing his fucking heart out. Let's get to stabbing Tommy in the back and taking cheap shots at Tommy now that we have addressed the fact that he is a successful YouTuber. Because Tommy is at it again. Tommy is at it again. Now, last month, it was Kevin Samuels who was stealing from Tommy Sotomayor. It was Kevin Samuels that was getting all the negative venom from Tommy Sotomayor. Tommy Sotomayor saying that Kevin Samuels was stealing his talking points and that Kevin Samuels should pay homage to him. But now, for the month of April, it's Rickey Smiley. Rickey Smiley's stealing from Tommy Sotomayor. And again, I listened to Tommy's broadcast when he was making these claims that Rickey Smiley was stealing from him. Tommy Sotomayor talking about how some guy from Rickey Smiley's camp had came on his show and Tommy had made a fool of this man. But in the time prior to Tommy making a fool of this man, Special K, this man told Tommy Sotomayor what a big fan Rickey Smiley was of him. And then after that, at some point, Tommy started making a fool of him. Now I'm going to say this, Tommy, I would love to come on your show so you could make a fool of me. Because talking shit and punching holes in people's bullshit, that's what I do, Tommy. This is what I do, and this is what I've been doing prior to getting on the internet and trolling motherfuckers. This is what I do, Tommy. I'm the real deal at this. Now, I said that to say this, right? Let's cover the most important topic. First of all, we want to extend our respect to Rickey Smiley for his loss. Rickey Smiley was talking about how he lost a loved one owing to the senseless gun violence. Someone at Rickey Smiley's church, a young lady, was killed via gun violence. And Rickey Smiley took to the airwaves to vent for maybe about an hour. I believe it was 45 minutes. But Tommy's show was 2 hours. And I watched the whole show where Rickey Smiley was expressing his grief as well as expressing his outrage to another loved one who fell victim to senseless violence. Now, I learned during this broadcast that Rickey Smiley had been the victim of gun violence on a number of occasions. And I believe that Rickey Smiley has had family members, I believe maybe a daughter or a son, who was also the victim of gun violence. Rickey Smiley talking about how we are now at a juncture in life where decent people have to stand aside and watch fucked up people do fucked up stuff. And we're giving them a pass. Now, even though I agree with everything that Rickey Smiley said, the one thing that Rickey Smiley didn't say during his narrative was he didn't speak about how our society was led to its current state. Because maybe Rickey Smiley was distraught, or maybe Rickey Smiley is unaware. But our society started taking a step in this direction in the late 70s and the early 90s, when they began taking, first and foremost, the prayer out of schools and then the discipline. I know because I paid attention to it, because I was a bad kid. I was the kind of kid that stayed at the principal's office. And when Philadelphia Superintendent Constance Clayton came into office and she said that teachers are no longer going to be allowed to physically discipline children, I was one of those children who was happy because I knew that I wouldn't be getting ass whippings anymore. But to my disappointment, I discovered that there were some old school teachers with seniority that didn't give a damn about what Superintendent Constance Clayton said. These teachers still kicked ass and took names. However, as those teachers began to retire out and younger teachers started coming in and started embracing the no discipline policy that Superintendent Constance Clayton put into place, it laid down the foundation for what you see now. Now, also, for the record, after being honorably discharged from the U.S. Marines in 1992, Xander Hobson became a school police officer. And at this time, I began seeing the adverse effects that were caused by Constance Clayton's policies in the Philadelphia School District. Total chaos and disobedience. This was in the 1990s. Now, when you fast forward it to 2021, almost 30 years after they enforced the no discipline and no prayer in schools, you have utter chaos, not only in the Philadelphia school systems, but in school systems all around the United States because of those laws in the 70s and the 80s that removed the discipline from out of the schools. So what happened was, Rickey Smiley, Tommy Sotomayor, our society has been conditioned to turn a blind eye to disobedient children. See, this is the result. All the madness that you see transpiring now, this is the result of the removal of prayer and discipline from the classroom and the implementation of timeouts and being diplomatic with children. And our current state is the tail is wagging the dog. Now, all of this was set in place by the U.S. government. The same U.S. government that began sending drugs into the inner city during the Reagan administration with the Iran-Contra scandal, where they were selling weapons to Iran and taking the money and funding the Sandinistas down in South America. See, now you have this breakdown in discipline, no lack of prayer or spiritual consciousness. You're being diplomatic with children who don't really understand what diplomacy is, because if you let a kid eat candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, this is what they would do. So you can't be reasonable with kids. And then you have the drug epidemic being set into place in conjunction with the school to jail pipeline. So all of this madness that we are currently seeing, it was orchestrated. And the reason why it was orchestrated, because they wanted to set a situation in place where you have a few people controlling the masses by employment, incarceration, and medication, as well as a handful of other factors that I can't think of at this juncture. So, no, Rickey Smiley, it isn't that we stand aside and let these kids do all this madness. What's going on now in America is a government implemented project that has been successfully implemented, and now decent people like yourself, Rickey Smiley, Tommy Sotomayor, and myself, and now we're left to deal with this madness. Now, I said all that to say this, right? First and foremost, it is a travesty what is happening in our society with these young brothers and sisters being haywire like this. The system has been set in place for black people to be seen as animals. And what is happening in America is nobody has patience for African Americans. And the reason why they don't have patience for African Americans, because the niggas have made it bad. Which brings me to this point. Tommy Sotomayor, ain't nobody stealing shit from you, bro. Nobody's stealing a fucking thing from you, my man. All right, you had the benefit of getting on YouTube and talking about things that you heard your mother say, that you heard your barber say, and the things that you heard other conscious African Americans say, bro. You don't have a monopoly on the conversations about what transpires in the black community, bro. Again, you had the airwaves. You might have been talking about it on YouTube. But check this out, champ. I'm 53 years old. Rickey Smiley will be 53 in, I believe, August. Kevin Samuels is 51. You were born in 1975, sir. We are your elders, champ. And you don't have a monopoly on this conversation, Tommy, because this conversation has been going on before you, and it'll be going on after you. So, knock it the fuck off, Tommy. Stop acting like a kid who has all the toys, and you get mad because you see somebody with a toy like yours, and you're saying he copied off of you. Hey, Tommy, the toy store is full of toys like the kind that you have, okay? You're not the only guy with that kind of toy, Tommy. And you're not the only guy who has a knowledge of how fucked up black people are, sir. Now, you just heard my background, and I don't know what you have done. I heard you talking about how you was shaping houses and all that. And again, you're a quite admirable guy, Tommy. And I'm sure that if you and I met each other, we would probably get along, despite the fact we would debate about some things. But you are a guy who sees the world like I see it, plus or minus some different points of views. But nobody's stealing from you, man. And stop putting that dumb shit out there, because to an enlightened person, you sound like a jackass. I'm done with it. Bam!